Okay, we're going to wrap up chapter 2. I wish that I could be there, but because of circumstances that I discussed with you earlier today, we have to do our wrap via this video, this short video. I won't make it too long and drawn out. So I'm going to ask you to make sure that you read chapter 2, which is Life Course Transitions. Take a look at the course, the key terms for chapter 2. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to discuss those with you. But because I will not be physically present to do the wrap up, and because you're going to the workshop on Wednesday, it'll be a while before we actually get together again. So feel free to email me, or I would be happy to make an appointment with you. I will be in the office on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and we'll be happy to even speak with you by phone if that is necessary. So anyway, when we last were with each other, we talked about the life course transitions, and life course transitions are those events that take us from one social status into the other. For instance, a transition for a woman might be moving from a single person into a mother. That's a transition. Motherhood is a transition. Becoming a wife is a transition. Even moving in with someone is a transition, because that alters your status, and it can have some economic ramifications, if you will. So this chapter discussed transitions that we enter into by our own choosing, those major life events that are shaped by the economy. For instance, losing a job, getting laid off, moving to a different state to take a job. Major events in our lives that change our status. And so the chapter asks the question of how are those events, how do we look at those events, and how do they affect us in the long range? How do they affect us with our aging process? How do they affect our ability to be able to retire? What do they do to us in terms of putting us closer to retirement or farther from retirement? And so those were some of the questions that were actually asked. So we looked at the different ways that social gerontologists look at those transitions that we enter into, and determine that life course framework is the approach of studying aging, to look at those historical events, or to look at the decisions that we make, and hopefully they'll show us the later outcomes of those decisions that we make, and those historical events that change our status as people. The central premise of life course research is that our early experiences, the opportunities that we encounter, and the decisions that we make early on result in individual differences in our lives, and they're critical for our future life chances. And so it just looks at how the different trajectories that we enter into, and go ahead and note that definition. Our trajectories consist of our work trajectories, our parental trajectories, our trajectories of the families that we're born into, how long our parents live, and how long we have to take care of them. Those kinds of trajectories. Take a look at the key terms, and we talked about the ones that you need to define from the list of key terms that are posted to D2L. You can't see that, but the key terms are on D2L. Take a look at them. Don't worry about knowing what age timetables are. We talked about all of the other ones, so age timetables is one that you don't necessarily have to worry about. Trajectory is not one that you have to worry about for the exam, but I would like for you to know what it means. And then empty nest is not one that you necessarily need to worry about. But all the rest of them definitely relate to things that you should know about as the conversation of life course transitions and how they impact us. And how social gerontologists measure those terms should factor into your definitions. And so take a look at those. I just wanted to grab my notes so that I can go over the basics. I won't go back through the lecture because I don't think that that's necessary. But the terms that you should look at and focus on. Counter transitions are a little bit different than transitions because the transitions that we enter into are basically relating to us, the things that we do to change our status when we become pregnant and have a baby, when we get married. But counter transitions relate to those transitions that we are entered into because of other people. For instance, if you have a daughter and your daughter has a baby and you become a grandmother, then that's a counter transition that is based on something that somebody else did to change your status. We also looked at the ways that social gerontologists measure transitions, and we decided that they look at the age effects, the period effects, the cohort effects to understand how those things that go on in history, how do they impact us? For instance, I was born at a different point in time than some of you millennials, and some of you millennials had access to unlimited amounts of technology. Well, how does that factor into your life and as compared to mine because of the difference in the period that I was born in gave me less access to technology. So that is a period effect that you have, the fact that you were born as a millennial and that you're born at a time period where technology is available to you as compared to the time frame that I was in. And so how that translates into real time, you might see a person who is older than I am who may not know how to work a computer. And that might limit their ability to, for instance, file Social Security or to correspond from Social Security using their computer, as compared to a person who is really technologically savvy, a person who knows how to get on the internet and call up Social Security over the computer. You may have an easier time in dealing with things like Social Security or insurance policies that you could, or insurance companies that you may be able to communicate with over the internet. So age effects just relate to what happens to us as we age, as people get older. How does that impact your ability to age well? Cohort effects, we talked about the different cohorts that are born together. I was born in the baby boomer generation, and so there are certain things that are common to people who were born during my cohort that might differ from yours. And so for instance, people in the baby boomer generation are said to have made lots and lots of money. That doesn't relate to Dr. Jackson. But anyway, and so you have some baby boomers that have unlimited funds and they'll be able to retire well. You have some baby boomers that were not born with a silver spoon or who did not make a lot of money in their lifetimes. And so you'll see those people struggling as they age and as they try to find places to live out their remaining years. We also talked about the ways social gerontologists conduct research to look at transitions, and we said that cross-sectional research and longitudinal research, open-ended interviews, and participant observation research were all different ways that could be done. So take a look at those research methods, and if you have any questions about those, let me know. The theories that are in this particular chapter that you need to know what they are age stratification theory and theory of cumulative disadvantage. Age stratification theory just means that people are grouped and segregated according to the ages that they are. You might find an environment, for instance, our classrooms or most classrooms at Middle Georgia are not intentionally age stratified. Nobody's telling an 80-year-old person you can't come to this room, but you'll find that most of them house people in specific age categories. And so age stratification theory is something that you can focus on. As a term, it just means that people are grouped together by their age. There are pros and cons of stratifying people by age, and so you should be familiar with those pros and cons. Theory of cumulative disadvantage, we've talked about that. That just states that if a person has money going into their old age, they have a better chance of aging better. But at some points, people get sick, and so you'll find wealthy people who are also, if they don't have deep pockets, you may find a wealthy person and a person who's just worked their entire lives. You might find them on equal footing as they get older, because the person who has money may run into a degenerative illness, for instance, cancer. It's a very expensive illness, and it may take all of the money that they have in order to cure them or in order to treat them. And so the money that they spend in healthcare might actually put them on the same socioeconomic status as a middle class person or even a lower class person. So the theory of cumulative disadvantage also emphasizes that if you don't have much going into old age, that you're probably going to struggle really in getting older. And so take a look at those two theories, and we'll discuss them in greater detail as needed. But for the most part, take a look at the terms. Make sure you can define them. I will post the next rap sheet, and it will be due on Monday, February the 8th. I'm making a scheduling change here. So the second rap sheet will not be due until Monday, February the 8th at 11:59 p.m. We'll meet again on that day. So if you have any questions, hopefully I can clear those up for you. Also, I'm changing the date for Quiz 1. Quiz 1, the date will be February the 15th. Make note of that, February the 15th. It will encompass chapters 1 through 4, and I think you'll be fine as long as you're reading the chapters and using the rap sheets as a means of reviewing the chapters to make sure that you're on point. I hope this video helps. I hope you're able to view it with no problems, and I will be back in touch with you real soon. Email